Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Kaizen Academy. You are all absolute masters of making things better, one small, smart step at a time. But what about those problems that don't respond to small steps? You know, the big, stubborn ones that demand a huge leap forward. Well, today we're adding a really powerful framework to your toolkit, one that's designed for exactly those kinds of breakthrough moments. Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about when those incremental changes just kind of hit a wall. Then we'll introduce the DMAIC framework and really break it down piece by piece. And finally, and this is the best part, we'll see how this powerful new tool fits perfectly with the Kaizen philosophy that you already live and breathe.
You know, we've all been there. You're applying Kaizen principles, you're making steady progress, but there's this one massive, complex problem that just will not budge. That's exactly where we're starting. That moment when we need to shift gears from taking small steps to making a radical leap.
I'm talking about that recurring bottleneck that just brings everything to a screeching halt, or that quality issue that seems to touch 3 different departments, or, that customer complaint that seems to have a dozen different causes. These aren't problems you can just tweak your way out of. They call for a total, game-changing breakthrough.
Okay, so you know Kaizen, it's the art of constant incremental improvement, but our source material points to its powerful counterpart, Kaikaku. Now this is the Japanese concept for radical breakthrough change. It's not about replacing Kaizen, not at all. It's about knowing when to trade in your ladder for a rocket ship. And that's exactly what a breakthrough improvement is. It's a dynamic, decisive movement to a new, higher level of performance. We're not talking about a 5% gain here. We're talking about a fundamental reinvention. But to achieve that kind of massive leap, you can't just wing it. You need a structured, data-driven plan. And that plan, my friends, is DMAIC. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a project storyboard. It's not some boring checklist. It's the actual narrative of how you're going to conquer a major problem, from the opening scene all the way to the final credits. And this storyboard metaphor is so important. See, DMAIC isn't just a dry academic exercise, it's a story structure. Each phase is like a chapter in your improvement saga, making sure you have a logical plot, from identifying the villain all the way to celebrating the heroic resolution. So, here are the 5 chapters of that story. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. See how each one builds logically on the last? This creates a rigorous, fact-based path to a real solution. Let's break them down. It all starts with building a solid foundation. These first 2 phases, define and measure, are absolutely critical. I mean it. Get these right, and you are halfway to a breakthrough. Get them wrong, and the whole project can just fall apart.
So in the define phase, the mission is just one thing: absolute clarity. Before a single piece of data is even collected, the entire team has to agree. What exactly is the problem we're solving? What's in scope and what's out? Who's the customer here? And what does winning actually look like? Getting this right prevents a world of wasted effort down the road.
A fantastic tool for this is something called a SIPOC. Think of it like a satellite view of your whole process. By clearly identifying the suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers, you create this simple one-page map that sets the project's boundaries and stops that dreaded scope creep before it can even start. Okay, with the problem defined, it's time for the measure phase. This is where we stop talking about feelings and start talking about facts. The goal is to collect cold, hard data to really understand the current reality. How bad is the problem, really? This isn't about blame, it's about establishing the benchmark you're going to measure your success against. And you measure that reality with concrete metrics like these. These are just a few examples, of course, from tracking defects per unit all the way to calculating the real financial cost of poor quality. Whatever you choose, these numbers transform a vague problem into a tangible, data-driven target. All right, with a clear definition and solid data in hand, we shift from just understanding the problem to actually solving it. This is where the action happens, in the analyze and improve phases.
The analyze phase is pure detective work. Seriously, you take all that data you collected and you become a forensic investigator. You're hunting for clues, for patterns, for hidden relationships. This is all about using statistical analysis, not gut feelings, to pinpoint the true root causes of the problem.
So, once you've identified those root causes, the improve phase is where you actually fix them for good. Based on your analysis, you develop potential solutions, you test them on a small scale, and then you implement the most effective ones. It's a direct, data-driven response to the real problem.
Now we get to what is arguably the most important phase of them all. You've solved the problem, you've achieved a breakthrough, fantastic. But how do you make it stick? How do you stop the team from slowly sliding back into the old way of doing things? Well, that is the entire job of the control phase.
The goal here is simple, but so vital. Sustain the gains. I mean, a solution that only lasts for a week isn't really a solution at all, is it? The control phase is all about building the systems and procedures you need to lock in your improvements for the long haul.
And you do this by basically building a fortress around your improvements. You create a control plan that acts as a guard, constantly monitoring the new process. You update your standard operating procedures, making the new way the only way. And you use visual factory tools to make the health of that process visible to everyone all the time.
So let's bring it all together. We've talked about Kaizen, your tool for daily improvement, and now DMAIC, your tool for those big breakthroughs. The most important thing to remember is that these aren't competing ideas. They are two essential parts of a complete improvement system.
This table here shows their synergy just perfectly. Think of it this way. Kaizen is your standing army, making continuous, incremental gains on the ground every single day. DMAIC is your special forces unit. You call them in for the high-stakes, targeted missions to solve those really complex, system-wide problems. You absolutely need both.
By adding the DMAIC framework to your Kaizen expertise, you're not replacing anything. You're building a complete, versatile system that's capable of tackling any improvement challenge that comes your way, from the tiniest little tweak to the biggest game-changing breakthrough. You'll have the right tool for every single job.
So, I'll leave you with this question. I want you to think about your biggest, most frustrating challenges right now, the ones that keep you up at night. Armed with this new framework, what's the first breakthrough problem you're going to solve?